very importantly, I want to thank the people who support this YMCA program. Very important for the children of Rockford that during the first few months of COVID-19, this center was still open. I know that it wasn't easy to implement all the new health protocols. It was, in fact, extraordinarily difficult for centers like this to do it, let alone to guide children through the uncertainty and the hardship that COVID-19 has unleashed upon them and their families. You're really doing heroic work, and I am very grateful to your staff for what you do every day, especially during this very difficult time. Childcare services are as much about a strong economy as they are about investing in our youngest generation. Both are critical aspects of building an Illinois that works for everyone. So when I had to issue our stay-at-home order, I also implemented an emergency system that provided access to childcare in small group settings for our workers, people who ensure our public safety and who help other families get the food and the gas and the pharmacy goods that they need. To help keep emergency child care centers up and running, the state offered one-time stipends and paid enhanced reimbursement rates for emergency child care to reflect the additional costs of providing care in smaller groups. I'm particularly proud that Illinois made sure that all essential workers were eligible for the state's child care assistance program. And that meant that the state covered almost all of the cost of child care for those heroic frontline workers. Across the state, over 2,500 child care homes and 700 centers kept their doors open to assist those workers, the families and children of essential workers all across Illinois who had to, work even at a time when others were staying home, and they were working, frankly, to help us save lives. And I'm very grateful to each and every one of them for the work that they did. The work that they did really did, if you looked at all of the curves that we were looking at very early on in this pandemic, being able to have a stay-at-home order, to be able to operate the state during this time period and keep people at home meant that we saved thousands and thousands of lives, and they deserve a lot of the credit for that. To boost our restoration of child care and early education, I worked with the General Assembly to dedicate at least $270 million from the Federal CARES Act to supporting child care providers in these challenging times. From the beginning of this pandemic, significant investments were made so that we could maintain the state's vast child care network between March and June. Through a simple waiver process, Illinois providers were paid for every child enrolled in the Child Care Assistance Program so that child care staff at centers could continue to be paid as normal through these unprecedented times. Providers like this YMCA Learning Center stayed open throughout that difficult period. For people who ensure our public safety and help other families get the food, gas, and pharmacy goods that they need, this was a vital resource. People like Bethany Watson, who's here with us today and who was able to continue her work for the Rockford Fire Department because of emergency child care services. My administration made sure that at the state level, we supported necessary infrastructure to make that possible, giving all essential workers, nurses, doctors, and the like eligibility for child care assistance, and that includes grocery workers and people who are getting paid minimum wage, people who really need it, whether or not we have a pandemic going on. The statewide restrictions in group size under Phase 3 of the Restore Illinois Reopening Plan are necessary as we let public health experts guide our path forward. And that means child care centers have been operating as of late in Phase 3 at 70% of their capacity limits, while licensed homes, which tend to have smaller enrollment, are operating at standard capacity. But what's been necessary for public health, frankly, has not necessarily made financial sense in the underappreciated child care sector. So today we're launching a survey of providers to begin the process to efficiently disperse the $270 million in child care restoration grants across the state. That survey is available to child care providers on the Illinois Network of Child Care Resource and Referral Agencies website. And I'm going to say that website name twice. I want to make sure that providers that are watching, listening, get to fill out that form, that survey. It's at inccrra.org, inccrra.org. The full application for disbursement of those dollars will launch on or before July 1st, with the advice of all of those child care centers about how those dollars should be distributed. This new grant program means that Illinois is again a leader fighting for working families and making our state one of the best in the nation for raising young families. Indeed, we're the only state so far that has taken the COVID relief dollars and applied some of those dollars from the federal government to creating this kind of a support mechanism for our early childhood centers. And I'm very proud of that. Illinois is once again a leader. And with that, speaking of leaders, I want to turn it over to the co-sponsor of the Federal Child Care is Essential Act, which would allocate $50 billion to support children and families with their child care needs, someone who has been a real leader on so many important issues to working families for the entire state of Illinois, your U.S. Representative, Sherry Bustos.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Sarah, I want to thank you to you and your staff for your willingness to stay open during a worldwide pandemic, to make sure that those men and women who are on the front lines that helped us get through this are continuing to help us get through this. The doctors, the nurses, the truck drivers, the grocery store workers, the police officers, firefighters, sheriff's deputies, everybody on the front line who are helping us get through this pandemic. Because the YMCA Child Care Center was willing to stay open, they are able to help all of those workers. I stand before you as a mother of 3 children, and my kids went to the YMCA program that in the Quad Cities we call Kiddie College. But I was able to have my career because I could go to work and feel that my kids were well taken care of at the YMCA, that they were learning, that they had the best of the preschool teachers and in the child care center. So thank you for what you and the YMCAs all over the state of Illinois and all over the country do to help working families. Governor Pritzker pointed out that I am a sponsor of a bill that would put $50 billion into child care centers and to child care all over this country. But I want to back up a little bit and say that there are so many needs in the community right now. And we have been able to, through our legislative work, get about $40 million to date to Rockford and the surrounding areas. But Mayor McNamara can speak to this firsthand. Governor Pritzker can speak to this firsthand. We need to do more. And we passed out of the U.S. House of Representatives, the House, a $3.3 trillion bill that is desperately needed at the local levels and at the state level to keep those frontline workers out there. And we are now awaiting the Senate to take that up. Which will be incredibly important. For just the city of Rockford, it would literally mean millions of dollars that will help the city pay its bills. And just to bring this into perspective, if you think about when the state was mostly shut down, now the governor is working through the phases and is doing this, and as smart as any governor in the nation, tying the opening up with public health. But as we go through these phases, think about early on in this pandemic. Think how many times you filled up your vehicle, right? So all those times you didn't, that was all the motor fuel tax that wasn't going to the state, that wasn't going to the city to make improvements in our infrastructure. Think about how few times you were able to go out and shop, and your dollars that would help go towards sales tax to the state and to the city. Those were dollars that weren't coming in. So when there are some in the U.S. Senate that are saying there's no rush to move to this next stage, I think Mayor McNamara, I think Governor Pritzker, I think Senator Stottleman, and I think Representative West would tell you there is a need for this. I'm here to stand along my partners right here to get the job done. I voted for that. I supported that. It did pass, but there's much more work to do. And I stand here ready to be a partner in this. With that, speaking of partners, I want to introduce your state representative, Maurice West, who has been a wonderful partner with the governor and with our office in Congress as well. With that, Maurice West. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Bustos, to Governor Pritzker, to Sarah. It's good to see you, to Mayor McNamara's, Senator Stolteman. I see the CEO of the YMCA Rockford Valley, Brent Pennenberg here. Good to see you. And to everyone who's here, welcome to the 67th District. I wanted just to stress one thing that the governor said, and if you don't mind, I would like to put it into a quick jingle so that people will remember. INCCRRA, right? INCCRRA, INCCRRA.org. I want to make sure we remember that because I would like, it's my hope that everyone who is in need of assistance when it comes to childcare or being a childcare provider can go to INCCRRA.org and get the necessary resources needed. I want to make sure that people on the west and south side of Rockford will go to INCCRRA.org to get the necessary funding that came from the Federal CARES Act. And Congresswoman Bustos, thank you so much for your sponsorship on that and for your leadership on that, so that we can make sure that the people in our community have the resources needed for their children so that they can go on to go back to work, so that they can bring money back home by being at work, and we won't have to worry about where I'm going to find the money to make sure my child is safe while I'm at work. So it's gravely important. It's so important that people on not just one side of our city, but every side of our city goes to INCCRRA.org. Utilize these funds. Governor Pritzker, thank you for your leadership on this. Thank you for allowing Illinois to be a trailblazer on how these dollars are allocated. And we will make sure that Rockford utilizes these dollars for child care, because our children are our future. Our children are the ones who will be up here not too far in the near future. And we want to make sure that they are taken care of and every resource needed is provided to them. So I would like to introduce to you my colleague on the Senate side, and we're in his district as well, in the 34th District, Senator Steve Stolteman.
Well, fortunately for you, I don't have a jingle, so you won't have to.
Do you have a dance?
I don't have a dance either. No, I don't. Nice to see everybody, even though we all have face masks on. But it's been a few weeks and a few months, and as the governor pointed out to me a few minutes ago, it looks like I need a haircut as well. So I think we're all in that position. So I appreciate everyone being here. It's incredibly important that we're making these types of announcements. Governor, I just want to thank you for your leadership the past few weeks and months as well. I know the decisions have been very difficult, but you've kept public health and people's health and safety at the forefront of your decisions, so I appreciate that. I know it certainly has not been easy. And I think it was about, the last time we held a news conference here was a cold day in February, and even though it was a couple of months ago, it seems like about 3 years ago in light of everything that's been going on. So these are definitely crazy times indeed. I also want to thank the Y and the Child Care Center here for continuing to provide these important services. We know it's not been easy with the restrictions, and we appreciate your dedication to serving children in this community. Everyone should have access to quality child care, no matter your income or your background. And as a father of 4 kids, I took advantage of the Y Care services a while back, and I know how important it is for working families, working parents to have that access, and for children to have learning opportunities at early age as possible. So again, thank you for your dedication. Just want to point out that expansion of programs like this are made possible because of the budget. The legislature passed a budget a couple of weeks ago. The governor signed today, I believe, and this provides the funding for important services. The budget isn't perfect. We have financial challenges, but it provides stability for the state as we deal with this global pandemic. Make sure that people in need get the health care and the services they need. Businesses need additional assistance. And again, it distributes federal dollars to health care and child care programs as is happening here. So again, it provides some stability moving forward until we hopefully can see better days ahead. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Tom McNamara.
First, thank you, Senator, and just a special thank you to Governor Pritzker, Congresswoman Bustos, Representative West, and Senator Sodelman. When you look at elected leaders, you want them to communicate with you, you want them to advocate for you, and you want them to have a tremendous work ethic. And each one are individuals I admire for the work ethic that they have and their ability to communicate with citizens and advocate for their districts and or their state. So thank you for all of your leadership. Secondly, I'm really excited to be here at the YMCA. We've been talking a lot about a safe and secure place for young people to go that allows their parents to go to work. But as someone who has a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, you also want it to be a place that provides tremendous care and compassion and education for your young child. And the YMCA, under the leadership of Brent Pettenberg and their tremendous board of directors, does that every single day here. And they stepped up to the challenge during COVID-19. And quite honestly, they stepped up to the challenge well before COVID-19, and they'll continue to do so for so many working families in the city of Rockford. And we are incredibly fortunate to have the best YMCA in the state of Illinois. Don't go around saying that to other folks, but it's just a fact.